Hey, what's up guys? St. Green's here. How are you all doing? I hope you all are doing great. Welcome back to the channel. Now on to the story.
Chapter 1, Originals. This is my Naruto crossover with the originals. I hope you enjoy it. Now back to the story. Kingdom of Norway. In a small village lived a group of Viking who would raid other nearby villages. They were led by a man named Mikael's son, and one of his most loyal followers was Minato, his second in command. They were heading back home on their boat after a successful trip with all their stolen food and treasures. "So, how are your wife and children doing? I haven't seen them in a while," Minato said casually as he rowed the boat alongside two other Vikings. "They are doing fine," Michael replied with a small smile on his face. "Finn is a strong boy, and Freya is growing more beautiful by the day. I bet soon you'll have to beat the boys off," Minato said while laughing as he saw Michael's face look like he had eaten something particularly nasty. "Any boy who approaches my daughter better be ready to face me in a duel," Michael said seriously, while making a mental note to sharpen all his blades. "Well, if that is the case, she will never be married because the number of people who could beat you in a one-on-one duel I can count on one hand," Minato stated as he knew he could give it his all but it would be close. Michael didn't reply, but he had a happy look on his face at the thought of Freya never marrying, making Minato sweat drop. "So, how is your wife doing? I know you two are trying to have a child of your own," Michael inquired as his friend had just gotten married and was eager to start a family of their own. "Kushina is doing well, and I'm sure we will have a child soon," Minato replied. She also mentioned that she will be visiting Esther soon to get some help on a spell she is working on. "I hope you remember the deal we made if you had a son," Michael reminded his friend. "Yes, I remember. If I have a son, he will marry your daughter to unite our families," Minato said, though he didn't like the idea of choosing his future child's fate. He didn't want to upset his friend, and the idea of their families becoming one isn't a bad one, both due to their friendship and to combine their might. Michael turned around and saw that the coast came into view. They were almost home. His mind went to his family. His wife was a witch, and a powerful one at that, so was Kushina. If their child got married and had more children, the future of his family would be secure. He still didn't want to marry off his daughter to anyone, but Minato was a man he trusted with his life, and he was sure he could trust any child Minato had with his daughter. With a small smile on his face, Michael thought about his loving family as they returned to their homes, unaware of the tragedy that awaited him. Fast forward, Michael learned of Freya's death when he entered his home and saw his grief-stricken wife, with tears streaming down her face. "There is a disease going around that has been killing off the people of the area. Nobody knows where it came from, but if you get it, you're as good as dead." Minato offered his shoulder for Michael to cry on in silence. Nobody blamed the man because they all knew Freya was Michael's favorite child, and he would do anything for her. Now she is gone, it feels like having his heart torn out. Kushina was consoling Esther, but she had a guilty look on her face. However, she schooled her expression and comforted her friend and fellow witch. That day marked a turning point for the two families. Michael's grief and protectiveness over his own family grew stronger and crueler, while the other family continued to suffer from the disease and die. Michael knew it was only a matter of time before his family would too. So he decided to move away to a faraway land that he had heard people talking about to get away from the sickness and make a better life for his family. Minato, Kushina, and several other families decided to go with him. North America, Mystic Falls. It was a new beginning for everyone who followed Michael to the new lands. They thought it would be better, but it got worse a year now. Instead of disease killing them, it was werewolves. In time, they learned to hide in caves during the full moon so they could keep themselves safe. This strategy worked, and their families continued to grow. Michael had more children with Esther, named Elijah, Cole, Rebecca, Henrik, and Klaus, while Minato had a son with Kushina named Naruto. Michael asked once why their names and some of their facial features were so different from the normal Vikings, and they told him they were from distant lands, shipwrecked off the coast of Norway with no way home, so they adapted to their surroundings and the people, making a life for themselves. Michael was impressed by their story because they had come here with nothing and could not even speak the language, but they somehow managed to make a place for themselves among his people. Minato and Michael decided to engage their children Naruto and Rebecca, with Naruto being 3 years older than Rebecca, which was not a big difference by their standards. It was one of the happiest days of their lives, but that happiness was soon turned to hatred and sadness. Minato and Kushina have died in a werewolf attack while protecting their son, Naruto, and Rebecca. Michael and Minato were planning to marry them off once they grew up, so they spent as much time together as possible to get used to the idea of being a couple. After his friend Minato died, Michael adopted Naruto into his family out of love for his father, the only person he would lay his life down for other than his family, and Michael knew Minato would do the same. Michael treated Naruto like his own son, which made the blonde's relationship with Klaus volatile to say the least. They would fight for anything and Michael would always take Naruto's side. Esther helped Naruto learn how to use and control the magical abilities he had inherited from his mother. She taught him some of the spells she had worked on with her, which were mainly barrier and protection spells. Naruto's relationship with the other Michael-son siblings was complicated to say the least. He found Elijah to be a hypocrite, saying one thing and doing another. He was cool with Cole, he outright hated Finn, and he wasn't really close with Henrik. Naruto's relationship with Rebecca was one in which he was the dominant partner and she was the submissive, obedient one. This type of dynamic was common among couples during this time period. Since they were children, they were told that they would one day marry each other. From a young age, Rebecca was taught how to be a proper wife by her mother, while Naruto was trained by Michael to be a strong warrior. It was not long before Naruto and Rebecca were old enough to marry, and Michael built them a house himself as a wedding gift. He only wished his friend could have seen his son become a man. Lemon was removed to follow YouTube policies, but can be found on my Patreon, and other fanfiction sites I post on. Fast forward. In the past couple of years, Naruto was happy for the most part. Rebecca was blessed with twin girls, Iden and Sib. Both were beautiful blondes, just like their father and mother. Michael loved them as if they were his dead daughter, Freya. Things were going well for the family until tragedy struck yet again when Henrik was killed by a werewolf while he and Klaus were watching them transform. Michael was furious with Klaus and punished him with his worst beating to date, almost killing him, but Esther and Elijah intervened. Naruto's house. The family of 4 was mourning the loss of Henrik in their own ways. Michael had invited them to a family gathering so they could mourn his dead son as a family. Naruto decided to leave the twin at home. They were already asleep and he didn't want to wake them up. We won't be staying too long anyway. I don't want to leave them here though, Rebecca said worriedly. Even if they are asleep, I think I will stay here tonight and not go. You know that won't work. Naruto responded. Michael is going to want us there, but we will not stay long, and I will put a spell of protection on the house. Rebecca reluctantly went with Naruto to meet with her father, but not before giving her daughters a kiss on the forehead and wishing them sweet dreams. Outside near the Michael-son house. The entire Michael-son family was gathered around a fire, reminiscing about Henrik and the happy times they had shared together. Naruto and Rebecca arrived and sat down next to Cole. It was a somber affair filled with sadness as Rebecca cried on her husband's shoulder, while Michael offered them something to drink, which they all accepted. Even Klaus was given a drink. Speaking of Klaus, he was quiet for the most part. His face was still black and blue from the beating Michael had given him, but all in all, he was recovering nicely. Esther must have been using her magic to speed up his healing. Naruto understood why Michael hated Klaus. He was proof that Esther had been unfaithful, and seeing him every day was a constant reminder of that fact. It was even sadder that Klaus was looking for Michael's approval, but Naruto knew the man would sooner slit his own throat than give Klaus any form of acceptance. What's going on? I feel strange. Naruto heard Cole say as he fell down beside him, trying to get up but failing soon. Naruto began to feel dizzy. Rebecca said as she fell to the ground, I feel sick. Someone must have poisoned us, Naruto replied as he looked around and saw Michael leaning over Elijah and stabbing him in the heart before moving on to his other children. Shit. Naruto exclaimed as he tried to get up but couldn't. He realized that Michael must have put something in their drinks. Naruto watched as Michael stabbed all his children, but him and Rebecca. Naruto tried to get in front of his wife, but he failed, and had to watch as she died in front of him, by his father's hand. Why, was the only thing Naruto could ask as Michael turned to stab him in the heart. The blonde felt despair from his wife's death, but his mind went to his children. Naruto knew he was about to die, but he wouldn't go quietly. Naruto grabbed Michael's hand with the sword that was inching down to his chest. The blonde then started to chant a spell, not one to attack Michael, but one of the strongest protection spells. Michael's sword pierced the blonde chest, a glow shot out of Naruto, and towards his house, where his sleeping daughters lay. He wished for them to live a long life filled with happiness, and to be strong, even if he and their mother were no longer there. As the light left Naruto's eyes, Michael turned to Esther, who was chanting a forbidden spell to give all of them, including Naruto, immortality. Fast forward. Naruto awakened in the Michael-san home. The blonde felt different, but he didn't know exactly what had changed. Then the memories of Michael driving his sword through his heart came back to him as he grabbed his chest and felt like there was a hole in it, despite the blood on his clothes. The blonde realized he was alone and went outside. It was still dark outside, but Naruto could see as if it were daytime, and he could feel everything around him. He caught Rebecca's scent and moved at speeds he knew was not natural to find her feeding on the blood of some village girl. He could feel the fear coming from the girl as she was drained of all her blood. He heard the moment her heart stopped, and she died. Rebecca looked up to see Naruto looking at her with a neutral expression. She tried to wipe off the blood on her face to hide what she had become but failed. "What is all this?" Naruto asked as he watched the woman he was supposed to love, but he felt nothing but hunger for blood. It was only his strong will that was keeping him from going up to the nearest person and draining them dry. "I have made her into an apex predator," a voice said as it came onto the scene. It was Michael, accompanied by his other son. They all had the bodies of people they had drained of their blood. "How am I alive?" Naruto asked emotionlessly, sending a shiver down the spines of everyone present. "I'm sure you killed me." Michael proceeded to explain what he had done to the blonde. Apparently he had made Esther use a forbidden spell to grant them all immortality and strength far greater than any werewolf, but with a self-effect of making the bloodthirsty monsters. Naruto's mind was racing as he thought about what the man had done. They were no longer humans, and the blonde now knew that if he fed on the blood of a human, he would become an immortal, but if he didn't, he would die. For some reason, Naruto took longer to wake up than the others, so they went ahead to get some blood without him, unable to resist their hunger. "Now you have to drink some blood to complete the ritual," Michael said after he finished explaining himself as if he hadn't just killed his family and turned them into monsters. Naruto looked toward the young woman whom Michael had brought with him. She was bleeding from her wrist where she had been bitten. The blonde could hear her heartbeat and feel the blood flowing through her veins. Naruto walked over to the young woman and lifted her up by her neck with one hand. The blonde started to transform into a bat-like creature. Naruto's appearance is the same as Marcus Corvinus from the Underworld movie. To the horror of the Michael sons, Naruto proceeded to bite into the woman's neck, draining her blood. When he was done, he ripped her neck off. When the blonde was done, he transformed back into his human form. Rebecca went over to check on him, but as she looked into his cold eyes, she backed away from him. It was like Naruto was a completely different person. Fast forward, things started to go downhill for the Michael sons when they gained immortality, but at the cost of their ability to walk in the sun, and the white oak tree and the flowers surrounding it became their only weakness. Michael began to regret his decision to turn them into vampires. His children's bloodlust was causing the people in their village to start becoming suspicious of them. Naruto had also become a monster that fed on anything from animals to werewolves. He had distanced himself from Rebecca, something that hurt her greatly, but it was for the best as she had to protect her daughters, who also gained supernatural abilities. Esther guessed it was because of the spell Naruto cast before he died, but it was of little consequence now. Michael could see that his children were monsters that he would have to put down, and he had just the thing to do it, he thought, holding a white oak stake in his hand. Chapter end.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and set up notifications. You can also join my Patreon for early access and exclusive content. St. Greens, out until next time.